Okay, so we're going to continue from user registration, which is basically what you have done in the previous class. So in the user registration, where user will require to register their credentials with the application, and the credential or the registration menu can only be accessed through the seller screen. And for now, we use this menu or this icon button on top of this app bar to access to the form. So this is just for temporary solution, because through the book here you can see that you will require to create, or you will require to access the registration page through profile menu, which is I'm not yet going to build. So through the registration form, so you have your registration form ready, and that you can access that. Let me put this away. All right, so through the registration form handled by registration screen dot, and here you can see just a very simple registration form that built this UI. So you have your name, email, phone, and password with re-enter password. And this basically all the required field, and there's a what we call as an agreement form, agreement pop-up, and user license agreement that will require for user to read and accept, and that basically it. And I've talked about this before in terms of um, the, the items that you would like to request from user that can be very difficult to determine. And sometimes some application, they only request for email and password for registration, nothing more than what we requested here, because here we have names and phone number, which sometimes can be very difficult to get and falls under certain law or regulation that you need to follow for certain country. So that can be that can be very difficult to do. And here we perform what we call as a very typical registration form, and we requested for user to create password and also email for their main registration. So we're going to use email as their main ID because we believe that, or we understand that email is a unique individual identifier. You can use phone, but phone sometimes people change their phone number, so we cannot use phone for this purpose, for the registration purpose. All right. So now we want to handle the registration, and when user enter their credential here, so let me just put my name or email, let's say phone number 01234556, right? And password, let's say ABC123, ABC, another one, ABC123. Right, so you can hide them, you can show them, so that depend if user click on this. All right, and these are the form that we would like to retrieve, to get, and then register with the application. All right, so now how do we handle or how do we get all the values here? So the value can be retrieved through form and through the text field controller. So we have the text field controller defined. Do we have that yet? Nope, we don't have the controller defined in our class. So we need to do that first and implement in our application, right? So those are the options. This is the EULA. So I believe I already talked about the EULA before. But here we're going to look into user registration process and how this is being done in a very typical client server application. All right, so in user registration process, the front end of the application is ready to accept user registration, so which is this now. All right, so this is our front end, and depend on how you want to design your UI, so that is up to you. And this is very, very typical or simple registration form, which basically contain or required three data: registration, name, email, and password. So we have name, email, and password. But in this case, I'll include phone number. But the example that I provided here is only required email, name, email, and only password. All right, so you need to retrieve or you need to get all the value here through the controller and then pass to our server here, which is the web server. And in our case, we use XAMPP as our server application stack. And XAMPP basically handle the request from the application. And the form will pass all the credentials to the server, and the server will receive all those credentials through HTTP requests, and we can create a file in the server directory. So here I created register user.php, and it will contain SQL insert statement, and then we'll return back the result. So the register or the SQL statement here will perform the SQL query to the database, and then we'll return back the result back to the server, and the server will return back to the application. So this is a very typical client server application. Press this button, pass all the data, server receive the data, server process the data through SQL query, pass to the SQL server. SQL server will process the statement, return back to the server, and then the server will return back to the application. And that is basically how client server application works. All right, so how do we implement this? This will require a library, which is you already used in your lab assignment 1, which is the HTTP library. So the front end pre-process that will check the data validity, collect the data, and then perform the HTTP request on this side, because we need to verify, we need to validate the data. We need to make sure that we don't have any what we call as dirty data, any data that is not valid. For example, email here. So if user enter invalid email without the @ or without the dot, so those can be considered as invalid email. Or even like user just enter numbers as their name. You can also do that to check if there's a number in their name. I'm not quite sure if anyone with number in their name. You can also check phone number, the length of the phone number, a typical phone number in Malaysia. So you have that length, check for the length. And for password, also you use the password validator, and to make sure that it follows the password reject. Okay, so you need to make sure that the quality of the password is there. And once you check or you do the validation, and then check if they agree with the terms or not. Right, so those are the pre-processing process that we introduce. that we have to introduce. So I already import a HTTP library in this project. So as you can see there, so we have the HTTP dependencies already installed, which is you can now use in the application. So to import that, just import. You can just call the library and assign this to HTTP object. So you put it up there. Now you can use HTTP as an object and then implement the HTTP request. Second thing that we need to do now is to process. So whenever I check or click on register, so we need to get all the value from this form. So to do that, we have to go to the buttons, which is the button is basically handled by this material button here. So this is the material button, and this is the method that handle register account. So if I click on this, and then it will bring me to this method, which at the moment contain nothing. Okay, so register account is contain nothing. The first thing that we're going to look here is the validation. Okay, so we know that we already implement validator for each text form field here. They basically contain validator. So you can see the validator implement through, for example, the text form field here. So the validator check for valid email that contain @ and dot. And for names must be longer than 3. And for password, for phone, I did not do any validation, so might need to implement validation. For phone validation, maybe we can use, because I didn't put that just to check text phone validator. So you can implement validator for phone, but here I did not put any validator. So you can just add validator for phones if you would like to check for numbers and to check for length. Okay, do that. And for the password, we implement the validate password, which will pass to a method down there and do the password validation according to what we want. Here, the reject is based on this pattern. Okay, you might want to notify user what are the required pattern that needed for the password. So, but for this application, I did not do that. Maybe you need to put somewhere down here or somewhere before the password here to let user know what are the requirement, or maybe a pop-up that let user know the password that you like to have, at least. All right, so once you have that, now we need to implement validation. So if you remember the form key that I talked before, so the form key here, this basically implement all the validator that we have up there, because if you click the button here, there's nothing happen. Okay, but if you implement this validator, okay, form key, current state, and execute validate. So when you have that, okay, so if you like click on the register here, you can see that the email here is not validated properly. It should be validated already. Check if I didn't properly implement correct validator for email. Let me check for email first, because before this is a valid. This is all, and it contain the correct @ and dot. Is val is empty. Validator is val. Email. Maybe I need to change the different, but this is only inside here. I check for @ I check for dot. Enter valid email. If this is true or the other way around. This is not empty, or this is also not supposed to be not. Enter valid email. All right, I think that's the reason. All right, yeah, that's the reason. I forgot to put not here. This is not in front of this validator. Right. So we check for that. So if you, let's say, if you didn't put the correct validator for names, let's say the name should contain at least more than 3 characters. So we let you know that name must be longer than 3. Right. So those are the requirements. So if you put more than 3, say 3, how is that? Yeah, 3 should be okay. So that is the requirement, okay, the validator. All right, so email done. If you didn't provide correct validator for email, it will complain about that down there. Enter a valid email. Phone number, I did not implement any validator for phone number, so you can implement that. For password, also the same. If I did not use, let's say, validator for passwords only contain ABC, it will let me know enter valid password. But you need to provide them what type of or what kind of validator that you're looking for a password. Capital letter, small letter, and number. So let's say that is the requirement for your password. So you might need to put that somewhere at the bottom here to let user know what kind of password that you are looking for, so that user don't have to guess what password that they need to enter. So, but in this case, I'm going to use fulfill the requirement ABC123. So now you can see there's no complaint from the form, and the form now should be able to receive. And one more thing that I did not do that is this down here, to agree with the terms. Okay, to agree with the terms, the checkbox there basically handled by, so let me check the checkbox, is check. Okay, so you might want to add that into your logic. So the logic here, another one, if, so maybe if you can put it inside here, or you can just use if here, form validate for one, n is check, right? So you need to implement both to be able to proceed. But since I did not implement what we call as any notification, maybe I can just put a simple print just to show you that it is working. Check form, just a simple print. So it should be available down here. Just move this around. Clear on this. Oops, should be else. Check form. There, check form. All right. So it means that if everything goes well, we can execute. If not, show here. So those are basically the logic. Okay, so here I implement what we call as a Flutter tools. And Flutter tools is a library that allow user to have this. Please accept the term and conditions. And you can install that through the, but if I do the installation, I believe I already installed that PubSpec YAML. Check your PubSpec YAML. Do I have Flutter tools? No, I don't. All right, so let me install the Flutter tools quickly. So the Flutter tools will basically handle by this library. And we might need to check for the library first. So those are the library, Flutter tools, Flutter package. Okay, so only available for Android, iOS, and web. So you can install that only for those platforms. All right, so do the installation through command palette here, add dependencies and paste that. But you might need to restart your application because we install new We install new Flutter library. So import the library into the project. I'm not quite sure if there's a built-in notification. There's a built-in. I forgot the names of the library. But that one will require that one will implement what we call a pop-up from the bottom down there. Forgot the names, but usually I just use Flutter tools for implementing what we call as a toast. Let's see if I need a restart or not. So let me just quickly take this and put it into the validator. All right, so here there's no need for this anymore. This is just for me to check. Put it not there. All right, so here I put not and make sure that both are true and not true. And then this one will pop up. Please complete the registration form first. Save that and let's see if it works or not, or it will throw missing dependencies. So let's see if we can get that. Let me remove something from here. Oh, just I need to re-implement the validator also for the second one. I did not do that. There you go. Okay, now you can see there's a missing plugin exception. Okay, I believe that someone did ask me about this before. Now, this is a very clear example. If the plugin, we just install the plugin and the plugin is not there yet, you need to do reinstallation. Okay, so which means that you need to stop this application first and rerun the application with the new library. So that basically, sometimes you might get away, but most of the time, if the library is quite big, if the library you just install in your application, you need to reinstall. You need to do the reinstallation, and that might take some times for the application to reinstall. Just wait on that. All right, so with a few warning here, successfully install and running, and let's see if we can use the library or not. The Flutter tools library. Okay, so go to the seller page and registration, and just straight away press register. Should be able to see this toast down there. Please complete the registration form first, right? So that is basically just a feedback for user. Okay, just a feedback for user, which is very, very important, so that user will understand what they have to do to complete the task. Let me fill in the form first. This one, it shouldn't, they should not be able to see the password first, but there's a issue there. might need to disable the form visible. So that one just a simple issue there that can be easily obscure text form visible if icon visibility is on or off. I did not implement that here. I believe the suffix icon is not available down here. So might as well we just take the suffix icon and where's the ending? Okay, down there. Take the icon button and that's the ending there. Okay, take the suffix icon. Suffix should be inside input decoration. All right, so suffix should be inside input decoration. Okay, so hold it there. But my password visibility is true by default. Need to turn off this. Okay, so the visibility, if password visible, but the default password visible is set to false. I'm not quite sure why it's set to true. This one is, oh yeah, password visible. It should be true. Is it? Right, so done with the UI so far. Oh, there's one more thing that I'm missing here, the text controller. All right, because I did not put that when I first built the form. All the text form controller I did not put into the form, which should be available up here, there. So there are a number of text controller that we need, which will allow us to get all the value from the text form field. Sorry for that. Right, so that should be implemented or should be put here. So we need to have all the text controller that we need. There are name, email, and we need one more, which is the phone. So instead of email, I'm going to put phone, editing controller. And now we can just bind them or assign them to each of the text form field. So the first text form field is for the names. Type in controller and then pass the controller, the required controller. The second one is email. So get email and assign the controller. And the third one is phone. And get to the phone. There's a phone there. And then assign to its controller. And for the password, there are two password controller there. So this one we can use to check for similarity. For password down there, this is for the first password controller. Set to its controller. And this one is controller set to the second password pass-to control editing controller. All right. So now we have used all the controller. There are 5 controller that we have here, which is equivalent to all the 5 input that we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So we have them all. And then now we can get all the value. So to get all the value, here we just register account. And then we check if the is checked or not. And then what else that we need to implement here? There's another thing that we need to implement. We need to compare between these two password. Basically, are they the same? So you can also implement either as a separate if statement. Let's say like if you want to implement as a separate if statement, you can do either through here. Let's see if we can. We get all the value first. Can get all the value. So let's start with name, string name or string name equal name text editing controller. That's the first one that we require. And the second value is a string email. Then email should be email editing controller, right? What are the names of the controller that I put down up there? Oh yeah, I'm missing E. That's why. Email editing controller, phone editing controller, pass editing controller. So missing that email editing controller, just missing text there. Phone editing controller, password, there you go. Right, solve that problem. Okay, email and then string for phone. Equal phone editing controller dot, oops, missing that. Dot text, and then we get the first pass A equal pass, should be not pass A editing controller, but pass editing controller. And then the second one is the second, what's the name of the second? Pass 2 editing controller, or maybe we can just give it different names. Usually we don't provide number. So pass A and pass B, the second password, we can provide pass 2 editing controller. All right, so now we just assign first all the value to their controller, and then you can check the form. It can be either way. You can check the form first and then get the value later, or the other way around also should be no problem, because we have the if statement here to take care of the value first, to check the value first, to check for the form validity first. So once you have all the value, now you can do whatever that you want with the value. So let's say we want to check for password. All right, so we can just compare both password. If pass A is not equal pass B. Okay, so if it is not equal, then we let user know. Please check your password, or password not the same, or whatever message that you would like to let user know, right? So if, let's say, if I enter my names up there, Anis, Beja, phone number, password ABC123, password the other one ABC124. All right, so let me check on that. Please check your password. All right, please check your password, so it won't proceed, or it won't continue processing the data. And there's also one thing that I forgot here. This is this one is just, please check. It should provide me this. If this is true, if it is check also true. This one might need a separate check. Okay, so let me just take this outside, and we might want to create another one. Please accept them, right? So if is check is true, and then we can just either not true, okay, and then let user know, please accept them. All right, so please accept term. All right, so might need to put it first before that. All right, save. So if I did not accept term, please accept term. So if I accept on term first, and then check for the password, first check your password. So check for the password, and then everything is okay now. All right, so if everything is okay, we have it down here, so we can continue with the registration. Okay, so we can continue with the registration because it passed all these requirement. Okay, we pass all the requirement, then we continue with the registration. All right, so yeah, there's more that you can use, or there's more things that you can check, but that is up to your whenever you first design the application. But this is as much as I can put into, and we're going to move on to the registration, the final registration process. Okay, so form pre-processing done. We use the form key here. You can check, you can use the form key, that current state check for the form, the validator, text form field validator. We have the password checker and everything. So those are very, very, very important. Okay, so now done with that, continue down there. EULA done, process here. So, all right, now here I implement what we call as a dialog, register account dialog, either if you want to put that also, because usually when you want to insert data into database, everything completed, all the requirement, validation, all good. When user click on this, you want to ask user, are you sure you want to register? We don't just straight away go to the registration, send the data to the database. We need to have that confirmation dialog. All right. So this is the confirmation dialog. The confirmation dialog can be implemented either inside here, or you can create another method that is up to you, or you can create what we call as a class and then use that many times. But since this is just a very simple dialog, so what I have here is a show dialog methods. Are you sure? Okay. Are you sure? So the confirmation dialog basically implemented, let me just put it inside here, register account, or maybe I can put a register account dialog. All right, so register account dialog, and then definitely I need to change this one. And then down here, so here, everything good. If everything good, proceed with dialog, right? Okay, so this is the dialog. So I'm going to take this dialog, the show dialog. So not going to write it down. So take it from there and bam, just put it there, show dialog, right? So this is the show dialog. Wait, where is it? I put it. Oh, there. Okay, so this is the show dialog. Register new account. Are you sure? Yes, no. Save that. Hot reload. Register. Register new account. Are you sure? Okay, so before we pass the data to the server for processing, asked for confirmation dialog. So this is a confirmation dialog. So for confirmation dialog, once we have what we call as a confirm, and we can just use that here, yes. Okay, so if user press yes, we pass the data to the server. So if you want to avoid any spaghettification, or you want to avoid the process loop quite long, definitely you need to pull this out methods into a class and then pass that and then use that many times. But I just want to make it simple, put it everything here. And there's a button there, yes. If user press yes, which is basically handled by this text button there. And it's all up to here, this section here. This is if user press yes button, we're going to implement this. And usually what I did is I just pass the data that we already have here to a method. Okay, so let's say like register user. Let's say like this is the method I'm going to use, and then just pass create method, and the method down here will basically process all the data here. But you need to pass the data because the data is not available unless you retake all the value here. If you want to pass the data, you can pass one by one. Let's say the name, email, phone, password A, and password B. Or you just pass password A only because we already verified the password. So you can pass inside here, inside this register user one by one. So let's say if I want to pass one by one. So we start with name, email, phone, and the last one is pass A. Only one, should be no problem. All right, so we pass name, okay, email, phone, and password. So we have all the data here, name, email, phone, and pass A. So our register user down here, they don't match in terms of the passing side. So we might need to update our register user, which is down here, with all the parameter that we have defined here. Right. So the parameter that we pass, string name, string phone. Is it phone? We start with or email. String phone, and finally string pass. All right, so now you can see no error in this method here. So we pass to this method and we have all the value that we require. And now we can start pass the data to the server. All right, so that basically handled down here. So now you can see here I created a special class, a config class. That config class, where did I put it? I created in a, should be not in a model. You can create this as a root directory. Inside root directory should be okay. But this is just to what do you call it? To make it easier for us later on, we just call server from config. But for now, let me just not doing this just yet. And we start with the HTTP request. All right. So the HTTP request for this, but here I did not pass any data because I retake the value from the controller. You can see there, retake all the value back from controller. You can either pass, or you can create object. You can create class for this user and then pass as an object. There are so many ways of doing this. But the example that I use here, I retake the value from the controller because the controller is available within the class. Okay, the controller here is available within the class. Should be no problem for us to retake the value. There are many ways of doing this, and then should be no problem for us to choose either one. If you want to really save or make sure that your application is totally truly optimized, so you might want to reduce the number of objects that you created, because here you can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4 objects that we created here. So which is in terms of memory, that is a truly wastage use of a string class. Okay, so might as well you create a new class, and then that new class can be used to just one object. Okay, one object is much lesser than the 4 objects that I created here multiple times. But that is not the purpose of this example here. So either you pass the value or you retake the value from the text editing controller. Either is okay. You can see here I retake the value from the text editing controller, And there are three values here that I get from the text editing controller, and that should be no problem also. Okay, it's the same. All right. Now we're going to implement HTTP request. Right. So the HTTP request here, HTTP post, implemented through the HTTP object. So let me just take that and put it inside here. All right, so here you can see a config server. So if you don't want that, so you can just straight away find your server ID, sorry, your server IP address. So to be able to get that, you need to check your IP address through IP config. And this is my IP address for at the moment, right here, over there. So put it into here. Right. All right, now you need to pass all the data. So the data basically name, email, and we have phone. Okay, one more data, which is a phone. It's double there. And finally, password, which is a pass. Right. So we want to use HTTP post and parse to this URL, which is local machine, my local machine, not yours. If you check yours, might be different. So that's why you need to check that. My parser, so your server directory, the PHP folder, and then the server-side script that handle the registration that we're going to pass all this data. Okay, and then wait for the response. All right, now we need to enable our server. So open up your XAMPP. I think I haven't yet run my XAMPP. All right, not yet. So start your server, start that, both, and check your server directory. So once you have already run, check your server directory. Server directory, which is available under drive C. XAMPP under drive C, which is under htdocs folder, and XAMPP and htdoc under here. Okay, so the server directory now is my parser v2. So which I will require for me to change my server directory here, my parser v2. Right, my parser v2 folder php and register user.php. We don't have that file yet, so we need to create the file. My parser for the register user or user registration.php. All right, so we pass all the data and wait for the response. And this one just to print out the response from the server. All right, so that is the step now. And next, the next step here is to create our database. So we need to handle our database. So let me check if I can access my local host through IP address. Yes, you can. All right, so my parser v2db, and then we have nothing yet. All right, so definitely the database is not there yet, so we need to create our database. All right, so now, for those who are not familiar with database, once you created your database, you need table. So under database name, you have a table. So for table, I'm going to give it a table name. So usually the way that I name my table, there's a different method of or school of thought on this. So my method, usually I always start with the table name TBL. So with the tables for who? For users. All right, so table users basically contain user ID, user email, username, password, phone address, user date reg, and OTP. So that is my ID. There's an egg data there, egg field or columns. So create. So this is basically the table that you need to create. So the one that usually I define here is user ID, but this is auto-generated user ID. There's a use for this, but we don't have to insert any data here. We're going to create this as automated data. User ID, user email. This is field name, and the way that I use or name my field, you might get different naming scheme here, but this is the way that I name my table. Okay, might not be the best, might not be the standard version, but I like using this method because it is easier for me to identify this field belong to which table. Okay, so if the table is table users, so the field name will always start with user, user, user. So easier for me to identify. User underscore, we have name, user email. Name is a full name, or maybe you can just use a full name, user email. Sometimes it's too long, so just using username is not the same with username that we use. We're going to use email as our login credential. So username here is the real username. Okay, so you have username, user email, user phone, user email, user phone, user password. Here you have user address. I have the address, but not yet there. So we're going to use that later, but I'm going to create that some other time. So user ID, user email, user name. Oh, there's two email here. Sorry for that. User phone, user phone, user address, user address. We leave it empty for now. User date reg. Okay, for user date registration. This is also auto. And finally, you can put a user OTP. All right, one-time password. We're going to auto-generate for them. So for user ID, data type is integer. So user ID, you can anticipate the number of user for your system. So let's say like 5 length. User email, usually you can put like 50, should be more than enough, I believe. I'm not quite sure if anyone more than that. Data type, usually I just use varchar. As you can see, the varchar allow you to have 0 to 65,000 string. Should be okay, but you can also use tag, but tags usually for much larger. I use varchar, okay, or anything that's small value. But usually I just go for varchar. This is just my preference. Username also the same, varchar. So for username maybe like, I think more than 50 should be less than 50 more than enough. User phone number also varchar, because phone number, they're not number, even though it's number. Sometimes you put like plus, minus. So those kind of things. So we define as varchar. And number, we don't process the number for phone. So we define as varchar. So phone number, I think 15 should be more than enough. But that you need to check the country length for phone number. User address, this is also varchar. So user address, usually you can give like 200 or 500 character long. depend on the user address that you like to implement later on. This is just a very simple user address. Some people, they just divide it into multiple segment of addresses, but I just keep it things simple, just use one. Date reg, all right, so date reg is a special data type, so you can just use date. Date will require if you don't care much about time, you can just use date. But if you want date time, you can check date time, which is that timestamp much longer, but you need to do some processing. Time if you want time only. So usually I use date time, or if time is very important, but if you just want to use date, you can just use date. Okay, so that is up to your preference. The example that I use is a date time, and the length will always remain 6. I forgot one thing, which is user password. So user password should be up there, but it should be no problem. User password. But we can rearrange later. Okay, so user OTP is can be defined as integer. In OTP 5 or 6, okay, 5 should be okay. User password, all right. So user password, usually I choose also varchar, but password normally we use what we call as we use encrypted, not encrypted, but hash value. Okay, we don't store naked password. We don't store password that visible password. We hash the value. The simplest hash value is SHA. So I'm going to use SHA1, the simplest one to use, which is will always constitute to 40 character long. All right. So this is basically my database table for table users. All right, we start with this. So straight for Go. Create the table first. Is there any error that I need to check? So you get error. Oh yeah, forgot about the. So we save down there. Yeah. All right. So once you have this, there are other things that you need to implement also, because our user ID here, we need to set this. We need to set this as a primary. Okay. And also change this to auto increment. The reason why I didn't do it earlier, because sometimes you get error. So that's why I create the table data first, and then I set this to auto increment, and then save. Now you have this auto ID. There's another thing that I forgot, also date time here, user date time here, if you want it to be automatic. So the default value should be current timestamp. Okay, so you should have current timestamp, automatic for date, current timestamp. User password should be no problem. Email, all right, that's also another thing that I'm going to do for email. So for email, sorry, I need to go back. For email, set for structure. Email, the size is quite small. All right, for email here, I'm going to change over there. For email, I'm going to set this as a unique. All right, set as unique so that you don't have the same email twice. It will return error. So the user ID is always unique. So that basically can be used as a main reference. But user email, I've set it as a secondary key. And then I don't allow for any what we call as data collision. Okay, if I try to register email with the same email again, it cannot process and will throw out error. Right, it throw out error. So this is basically my database for user, table user. It can be quite lengthy in terms of this, but not optimized. I have to say that I'm not the what we call as the database guy per se, but I can build database. But in terms of performance, in terms of the verification of the data, the design of the data, well, you need you need a proper database design. That's why that basically the things that you should learn in your database class, right? So this is just a very basic fundamental how to design table and how to create field. And now we can use this to insert data into database. Okay, now we're going to continue with the backend registration. All right, now we are ready to insert data into database, and we can proceed with registration, register user.php, which we don't have yet. All right, so I'm going to create that. I'm going to use Notepad++ for me to make it easier. Too many already. So I'm going to create new PHP file. And for those who are not familiar with PHP, so PHP will always start with PHP tag and ended with this. So this means that this is now a PHP file. So save. So I'm going to save this into my server directory. So my server directory is in drive C. Them htdocs under my Pasa v2 under PHP. So this is going to be the names should be register user.php. So this is a PHP file. So PHP file, register user, my mouse is not responding well. All right, now we have the PHP file. Okay. So as you can see at the backend user registration, the application side is ready to send data to user registration to the server. So the server side will require to prepare the script for receiving and processing the data. Open the server directory, open localhost using the VSC session, create new PHP file and put a register user.php. Any names, okay, but as long as you follow the programming structure. So I start my my PHP block here with to check if there's any post request. So if you're not familiar with PHP, so this is basically how PHP handles requests. So I started to check the data or to check if there's any session. Okay. So, but here I'm not quite sure if session basically available in Flutter application or not. But usually I just check. So if it's set, if post array is available, and then if not available, and then we're going to respond to create a response JSON array, send back to the application, and then die. Okay, which means that not going to proceed from there. So which means that if you look here closely, this is a post array there, HTTP post. So this is HTTP post, this is HTTP post. And then it will check if there's any post array here. This is a post data. If there's any post data, then they will process the data. It will continue. If there's a no post array, it will die and return this what we call as a JSON response. So there's a function called JSON response here. This is just to build the echo back to the application. So let me just show you this here quickly. All right, so this is the function down here that call for this send JSON response, which will encode data into JSON by using the JSON encoder and send the array response that we have sent here. So which means that if there's no post array, then we return false. Just to give it a try, else we can return we can return success. Put it down there. And then the status we built for the JSON data here is a success. Okay, this is just for testing our PHP file. All right, so we should be able to go here. So let's say like if I try to follow this link, okay, if I try to follow this link back through my browser, let's say put it there, it will return. Should not be able to return post because I did not pass anything. It will, oh yeah, I put it success here. Should return if it is set. If it's set post array. If not, why it's written success? It should return fail because I did not pass anything. This is another way around. It's send else. Even though I did not submit anything. Hold on. If is set is post, if post is not available, is it if set post? But this one is no. I did not post anything here. But it returned success. The data is null, but it returned success. Why it returned the other way around? It's not supposed to return that. It does return success if I do this. It's fail. So if is set is true, do this. But why is that? All right, though this is weird. Because if I did not pass anything, if let's say if I pass a data here, test equal ABC, this is a post array. This is a post array, but it still return my success, which is not expecting. This is get array, not post array. If there's no post array, there shouldn't be any response here. So that's weird. That can be quite weird to determine. Is there anything that I miss? If is set is not set, is post array is not set. I might need to check on this later. It's supposed to stop. It's supposed to stop. Okay, not sending anything, or it was supposed to send fail, but it send the other way around. That is not what I'm expected. Okay, because usually I just use this to check for is set. Check for the post array. If there's no post array, don't proceed. Or maybe I can check inside for, let's say, register. Just for the sake of testing. All right, so I think that is the reason. It's just check for the post array, and the assumption here, the post array will always be available even though we didn't send anything. All right, so might need to update that, but it should work. But here you might need to send another parameter for the post array, which is register. Okay, so just to keep safe, So one parameter that I need to pass here is this. One more thing, which is register. Okay, so register, let me just pass dummy data, which is register. All right, this is just for the sake of having this post array. Okay, so let's see what should it be able to run or not. Okay, so now if I click on this, it should be able to pass register user and print out the response body down here. Basically the same with a browser. So for a browser, you have this response, okay? But for the application here, let me access the application. So refresh back and see if we can have anything in the response here. Register. Yes. It didn't return anything. So there's one thing that I might miss, which is the requirement to update main Android manifest. I haven't yet. I already have that. Use clear traffics equal true, which is to enable localhost. But here it did not receive. I did not receive anything. It's supposed to receive something here when I pass to this post array. Either fail or success, right? So register. It does not. So that this is register user, the same file that we have. Register user PHP, register user myPassword v2 should be the same. Okay, check again, 192.168.0.183 / myPassword v2 / php / register underscore user dot php. All right, and then pass all these parameter. And then it should, I already removed, but it should, yeah, I think I removed the other one. So this one should return success. All right, try one more time because it didn't return anything. I need to return, right? So save, yes, yeah, there you go. All right, that's what I'm looking for. I forgot to put that back, right? So this is just to show to you that I have successfully sent all this data to the server. This is our server here. And the server check for the data, which is sent through post array. Post array is not visible, okay? It's not visible for user to be able to see through the URL here. You can see here, this is get array. Get array can be seen, post array cannot be seen, okay? It basically embedded into the data structure. See, this post body here. All right, now we want to be able to get the data, to receive the, to process the data. So that's what we have here. So what we have here, this one I started with include once. This is for database connector. You can do it after or before, but I'm going to remove this first. Okay, no need for that. I just want to test. I did manage to get the server response. You can see there. There's a server response there. So now I need to get all the value. So to get all the value, basically I can just use this section here. So I'm going to take all these. Okay, I'm going to take all this and put it there. All right, so if everything goes well, I can get the value from my body here. You can see here, name, we start with name, email, second one is email. The third one is for phone. So I'm going to take phone. Okay, so this is variable phone. For password, I'm going to use SHA1, which will automatically convert the value into 40, hash the value into 40 character long. So password SHA1 post password. So that you can see there, password parameter pass through post array. And OTP, I'm going to auto generate that by using random number. So the OTP here will use random number 5 character long. 5 integer long, which is from the 10,000 to 9999. It will generate that. And for the address down here is address not available yet because we haven't yet request for the address. So we have all the data. To have all the data now, you can test out the data. So let's say just want to test out the data. So let's say echo back nim. So just to echo back and then check if we actually receive the data. So if you pass the data now, you should be able to see nim down there. Oops, it will return name. Does return something. Code name is there. Line number 15. 15. Line 15. Oh yeah, echo. Straight away echo name. Response.body. I did not pass that properly through JSON data. Either the name is not, the name should be there already. Should be able to retrieve the name. Constant, oh yeah, sorry, forgot about the dollar. Dollar is the variable here. All right, so that my bad. Clear console one more time just to test. Yes, should be able to see the names that are written by the server, Ahmad Hanis. Okay, so it means that's to prove that we have the name, email, phone, and password. Now we can implement what we call as a SQL statement. So the easiest way to do that, you can see there, my SQL statement. This is a typical SQL statement. SQL insert into table user, username, name, password. So this is the SQL that we can just straight away take from here. But if you want to make your life easier, usually you can just straight away use your database tool here, and you can go to SQL and select this insert statement here. So you can see that it will automatically generate the SQL statement for you. All you have to do is just copy all this. But if the things that you don't need to insert is user ID, there's no need for me to do that. And also date right. Okay, this is two auto data. The rest it should be okay. So which means that you need to remove two value from here. Okay. All right. So this is the SQL statement. All you have to do now is build the SQL. SQL, let's say register, whatever the names. Okay, put it there. So this is the SQL. It's a little bit big there. So now this is the statement insert into table user. So this is all the tables that you want to insert, and this is the value down there. So the value we start with, the first one is email. So we put it $email. The second value that we want to insert is name. Name. We have name there. So remove the value with the bracket, $name. And the third one that we need to insert based on the sequence there is phone. So remove bracket, $phone. Make sure the same is up here. The fourth value they want to insert is user phone, done user address. So user address, we don't have that. So we use the NA there. And the fifth value is OTP. So OTP is in integer value. You can straight away not using string there. $OTP. And the last value is user password. All right. So user password, $password. There you go. So those basically our SQL for insert. Okay, insert into table user. So this is the fields that we want to insert, and this is the value that we want to insert. It must be in sequence with our here, right? So simple SQL. So now we have built our SQL statement. Now we can just execute the SQL statement, but before that, we need to include our database connector. Okay, so we need to include our database connector here. You can do that either before or after. So if you want to do it before or after, there should be no problem. This is just a database connector. So you can just include once and define the database. Here we have dbconnect.php, but it must be the same directory with our server, which is here, dbconnect, right? So dbconnect.php. So once you have your database connected, then you can execute by using query success. Sorry, the computer is not responding well to so many things already. This is just if-else statement, if success or fail. All right. So SQL register here, SQL register here. So if connector execute query SQL register is equal true, which means success, we build response array, say that it is a success. Send mail later because we want that later. And then send response, fail, and null. All right, so this is to execute our SQL up here. And usually we can just close your connection. So if you want to do that also, it should be no problem. Close. This is just for server performance. All right. Let's see if you manage to get it to run. So check your database first, no data, right? So this is getting quite slow already. All right, so go to your browse. All right, okay. So no data yet in our database. And then now if no problem with the sequence, with the statement, you should be able to register user with this. Click on the register, click yes. You can see the response there, success, and then refresh our data from database. You should be able to see data now. User ID, email, name, phone, address, date rec, user OTP, and user password. There. How easy is that? Right? So that is basically this. Okay. So now, once we receive the status response, even if you try to, let me just try to demonstrate, if you try to do it 2 times, just to see what happened. The same data, try to register again, you should receive this error there. Duplicate entry, @gmail for key, blah, blah, blah. And that basically the error that we receive when we try to register. Okay, because there's a duplicate entry in the database and it won't allow for us to enter the same email twice. Okay, so you might need to handle that. You might need to be able to handle the request, the response. If something goes wrong with the request, what should you do? So here, that basically can be handled through down here. Okay, if something goes wrong with the query, we should be able to send, but we might need to implement try and catch. But I'm not going to do that just yet. But this is just to show to you the architecture of a client-server application that we just implement, which allow us to communicate with server. And in this case, we implement user registration, but we haven't yet deal with the response. Okay, we haven't yet deal with the response, but we are able to register user to our database. Okay, so the database now able to receive user data, and this is a clean data. Okay, you can see email, name, phone. We don't have address yet, and we might need to do something later on during profile. User registration, automatic data. This is auto data from date time. User ATP by using random number. So if you want to do some verification, so you can check for the OTP and then reset the OTP here. And this is the 40 character long SHA1 hash password, right? So those are basically what we have learned today. And then that basically covered until here. All right, we have covered until here. So you should be able to see the status success down there, the same, and then the data in the database. All right, later on, we're going to look into the how do we respond to the JSON data, how do we respond to this, and then how to process, how to make sense of the data and then update our UI. Let's say like if it is a success, we let user know that it is a success, and then we bring them to the login page. Okay, we bring them to the login page, and then user can now log in. All right. Or maybe we want to do verification, so we ask user to enter the OTP, and the OTP will be used to set or to verify user account. Okay, so that basically how you design or how do you plan user registration module. Okay, so once you have this, and then proceed with the login and then main page. All right, so those are the logic here that I try to demonstrate in today's class. So I think that is all for today, more than enough for you to digest.